Today's lesson is on adding and subtracting rational numbers. First, we'll look at adding rational numbers. So for number 1, we have negative 7/8 plus 1/4. The first thing we need to do is we need to find a common denominator. So our denominators that we have are 8 and 4. Our least common denominator would be 8. So negative 7/8 will stay the same. And then we're going to add 1/4. 1/4 we're going to change so that we have a denominator of 8. In order to do that, we're going to multiply the denominator by 2. If we're multiplying the denominator by 2, we need to do the same thing to the numerator. So 1/4 is going to become 2/8. Now we're going to add the top, and the bottom stays the same. So we'll add our numerators. So we have negative 7 plus 2, and our denominator stays the same. It'll stay 8. Negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5. Denominator stays the same, so our answer is negative 5/8. Now for number 2, we have negative 6 1/3 plus 7 2/3. So the first thing we'll do is we can make these into improper fractions. So 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 is 19. So I have negative 19/3 plus, and then 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. So I have 23/3. Notice that we already have the same denominator. So we can go ahead and add our numerators and keep the denominator the same. So we have negative 19 plus 23 in the numerator, and that then would be divided by 3. Negative 19 plus 23 is 4. So we get 4/3. We can simplify 4/3, and that would equal 1 1/3. In this problem, if our denominators were different, we could have found a common denominator first before we made them into improper fractions. Now we're going to be subtracting rational numbers. So for number 3, I have negative 3 1/3 minus 5/6. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this into an improper fraction. So I'll do 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 1 is 10. So I have negative 10/3 minus 5/6. My denominators are different, so I'm going to get a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the first one by 2, because my least common denominator for 3 and 6 would be 6, and 3 times 2 is 6. I will also need to multiply the numerator by 2 as well. So now I have negative 20/6 minus 5/6. When we are subtracting, that would be the same thing as adding the opposite. We want to do this because our first one is negative, our first fraction is negative, and our second one is positive. So I have negative 20/6 plus negative 5/6. Now I can add my numerator, so negative 20 plus negative 5, and my denominator will stay the same, so it'll be over 6. Negative 20 plus negative 5 is negative 25, so I have negative 25/6. When I simplify this, I will get negative 4 1/6. Now for number 4, I have 4 1/2 minus 5 1/4. The first thing I'm going to do is make this into an improper fraction. So 4 1/2 will be 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So I have 9/2 minus 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 is 21. So minus 21/4. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a common denominator. I have a 2 and a 4 for my denominators, so my least common denominator would be 4. So I'm going to multiply the first fraction by 2. 9 times 2 is 18, so I get 18 fourths minus 21 fourths. I'm going to change this so I'm adding the opposite. So I'm going to have 18 fourths plus negative 21 fourths. Now I'll add my numerator. So I have 18 plus negative 21, and that will be over 4. 18 plus negative 21 is negative 3, and then I put that over my denominator of 4, and my answer will then be negative 3/4. On both of these problems, you could have found a common denominator before you made them into improper fractions. So you could have reversed those steps. You could have done a common denominator first and then changed your mixed numbers into improper fractions. That would work on both of these problems.